So Trends from the Trenches, we got a lot of exciting stuff, and we're gonna build this Ronin. Hi, this is JP Morgan and Lars
Lindstrom.
And we're here with Trends from the Trenches, the June edition. Wow, the year is just disappearing. This is midway through the year already.
Oh, man.
So, this takes the cake, you little pig.
Did you just call me a little pig?
Okay, CineGear. Let's talk about CineGear before we talk about that.
Okay, yeah.
CineGear.
Right.
I saw a few things of CineGear, but nothing that was just super... I mean, it's NAB, a lot of the same stuff. It's just cool to be at CineGear because it's on Paramount backlot. It's on the streets there, on the backlot, and it's just a fun place to be. But I bumped into one thing, this thing called a Raglite.
Okay.
It's basically strands of LEDs on a flat material.
Okay, but it's material, so it's flexible,
Material,
right?
completely flexible. They roll them up. I mean, you can roll them up. You can, lay them flat. And what I liked about them was that they are Velcroed on all the edges, on all 4 edges.
Wow.
So you just Velcro them together. So if you got a bunch of them, you can make it into a big panel, or you can take one off and put it here, you can do one there. So they become kind of versatile.
Do they daisy chain?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes, they do. I think they do.
Okay.
So you can just hook them together.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just daisy chain them together and then have one power source and, yeah.
I'm not positive on that. I wish I'd asked that question, but from what I'm seeing here, it looks like that's a possibility.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought they were interesting. It's just rows of LEDs.
One thing I always try to I actually like the punchiness because there's that shot that everybody wants of in a doorway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, and that's the hardest thing, man. It's like, how do I get some sort of a fill light on a person's face without any space at all?
Yeah.
And it's like so having these and just kind of putting them up right up against the door there, like angling them out, it's just kind of nice.
Bumped into an old friend of mine, Ben, who used to be at PhotoFlex. And he is selling has a whole group of things he calls the Biflex.
Okay.
And the Biflex is the same principle. The thing about these that was interesting is that they're completely waterproof.
Oh, wow.
Completely. Nope. He's had them dunked in the water when you're sitting there.
Wow.
They are indestructible. He was stepping on them.
What?
Yeah, they're indestructible. So they're a great set, but they are set sizes. They're like, I think a 1 foot.
What was the light quality? How punchy were they?
Very punchy. Yeah, just a really nice light. And they are, you can, by temperature, you can dial them. So
cool.
So I thought those are too interesting. These LEDs, these kind of get them into interesting places, or
absolutely
a great product.
Cars at nighttime,
That was it. Then I saw this.
What's this?
Benro has a slider.
No kidding.
With a carriage and their S8 head, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, the S8 head on 2 sticks for $1,400.
$1,400.
So you basically get two tripods, a video head,
and a nice
slider.
How did it work? Did you check?
Oh, it was fabulous. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I played with it. It's just like the other stuff they do. It's just very well engineered. I was impressed with it.
That's
very
awesome.
impressed with
I've
it.
been looking for a good slider at that price point.
So let's see here. Weight level 17 pounds.
Wow, that's amazing. You get the 2 tripods and everything.
Yeah, you got 2 tripods, and when you break that down, you've now got a tripod with a video head.
Yeah.
Just put one of them.
Yeah. So I mean that's $500 right there. So
exactly.
Add another $900 and you get a nice slider out of it.
So Benro, I just thought that's a great solution. Price-wise, a great price. Did really well. So Kessler's there. They had their second shooter, which is a great product. Really just simple to use, put on, be able to time out time lapse,
so motion control.
Motion control. Right? Extremely easy to use and affordable too. So I thought that was interesting. But that's been out for a while. It is interesting. Everyone seems to be going, with the Ronins and all that. Now it's the big vest.
I know.
With the thing to hold the thing that you're holding.
It's like we've come full circle. It's like, so we got away from Steadicams because of the big vests. Because now look, I can put this down, I can move, and now we're back to let's lock ourselves in again. So it's like we fixed a problem only to realize there's another problem. It's very funny, I think, because there's a couple options now for big rigs, on vests, on how to like take some of the weight off your Ronin.
Well, this is the Ready rig.
Yeah,
and,
so ReadyWig makes one. Tilta was another one that had a new, very cool one actually at NAB. You look so cool is the thing in these things, because it's like 2 arms that are coming out, and you look totally bionic.
Dr. Octopus.
It's crazy. Yeah, you look awesome.
Yeah,
but it's ridiculous.
I did bump into Tor, who works at Blackmagic.
Blackmagic,
and he showed me the new Ursa Mini.
Yeah.
And that's got me pretty excited, I have to admit. I was pretty excited. 15 stops of dynamic range.
So if this camera has actually 15 stops of dynamic range and it looks halfway decent, I'm very excited about it.
Well, it's got the Super 35 millimeter?
Super 35 sensor, yeah. So it's a 4.6K sensor. I mean, we've talked about it before, but I just think, you know, it's small enough now that it's just the right size.
It's starting to feel more like the C100 or the C300, right?
Yeah. So the original Ursa was just like, what is this thing? You know, I'm not gonna put this on my shoulder with a 10-inch.
The original Ursa.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I can't work like this, you know. So
sorry, Blackmagic.
Yeah, and it was 16 pounds, so it was really heavy. They fixed some things. It's now only like 12 pounds, the original Ursa, but the Ursa Mini is, I think, right on the money. So
I think so too. I think they've hit the market there, that it will start to compete in that cinema market.
And I'm sure next year we'll see it with built-in ND filters.
That would be really nice.
Yeah. That to me is like,
should I buy one or should I wait for the ND filters? I definitely want one. I feel like I need to make a step up in, and it does come with PL mount or with EF lenses. EF mount, so I'll definitely do the EF mount because of all the lenses I've got. So that's what it is. Anyway,
you also have CFast cards. That's something you have to worry about, because now that's a new technology. It's expensive. I mean, it is coming down dramatically. It's like a quarter of the cost from when they first announced it. But you know, like things, just you have to kind of price it all out and go. And now I need a handle. You know, so now you're a couple bucks in a handle. You know, to operate this thing. And then now I need EVF brick batteries. The
Anton Bauer batteries?
Either Anton Bauer gold mount
or the V-mounts?
V-mount. Yeah, either V-mount batteries. So, you know, there's all these things to consider.
But here's the scoop.
Yeah.
Tor is a personal friend.
Yeah.
And works at Blackmagic. And so on the side I said, Tor.
Right?
Really?
Tor, come on.
Tell me, should I buy this camera?
Yeah.
And he said, I've already put my C300 into rental, and I'm the first on the list to buy this. He said, this is the camera I will use. He said, because
he told me the exact same thing.
It's,
so that's,
it's
I don't think
phenomenal.
It's BS.
And he was being straight with me.
Yep.
I mean, if he had gone, maybe you should wait, you know, I would listen to that. But he's going, no, this is the camera.
As a friend, I know that he would do that. You know, like I've seen Tor, he's talked about other things that he's been into before, but as a friend, he's said to me, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it.
And I think he's right. I think this really is a major step up.
Yeah.
All right, so that was kind of my thoughts from
CineGear.
CineGear. I do have this. Elinchrome just came out with the ELB 400, which is a smaller kind of strobe platform for doing weddings and things, which is going to be, you know, price-wise, I'm not sure exactly what the price is. It's just been announced, but I think that will be maybe not a competitor to the ProPhoto B2, but at least more like the quad that the ProPhoto has. So it's a little larger. Okay. And it has a nice recycle time. It's got nice power. It's a 400-watt second pack, so you can take it out on location. Actually, no, it's more than 400. I think it's 424 watts.
Ooh.
Yeah, get that extra 24. Goes to 11. But I think this is worth looking at. The Elinchrome, it is. They make great equipment. It's engineered really well. It's pretty foolproof. So
awesome.
So I would check it out. Okay. That's coming up. So what else we got here?
Well, YouTube, as I'm sure some of you have already heard, has now announced that you can watch 8K videos for some reason. 8K
videos for some reason.
That's all I got on that one. That's like...
What would that reason be? For some reason. Because you can.
Because some cameras can shoot 8K now. You know, I mean, you've got the new VistaVision weapon from Red coming out.
The weapon.
Don't get me started on that one again. And that's going to be able to do 8K for some reason. And so...
we haven't even successfully gone to 4K yet.
We have not. We have not. And not even only that, but like even the people that have gone to 4K, it's not 4K, it's Ultra HD. So it's 3.8K. You know, so it's like...
My grandma can't tell the difference.
OS 10.
El Capitan.
Capitan. So this is the new operating system for Mac that was just announced yesterday for us. I'm sure it's been a little bit for you. But basically, the reason we're bringing it up is because it's going to improve the performance of your Adobe CC applications.
Yes.
By how much?
So some of these 8 times faster in rendering, like in things like After Effects. 8 times. That's huge if that's true.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Which makes graphics rendering 40 times more efficient than OpenGL.
And also, it improves battery life, so you're not crunching your battery so much.
Which means you're not crunching your processor. Mm-hmm. This is interesting. I'm very curious to see how this is going to work, because we all know that faster is better.
Absolutely. They still haven't really figured out how that's going to improve or what it's going to do to Photoshop. You know, when you're rendering and working on images, but for video, it seems like a huge step forward. So.
Yeah, After Effects, and I'm hoping that it makes a difference in exporting in Premiere or rendering in Premiere as well.
Yep. Canon might announce a lens called 35mm f1.4. They might announce that in the next 6 months.
They have one.
They have one, but this would be the second version, the new one.
The version 2.
So it could be announced in 6 months, so it could be seen in a year and a half. It's like, who makes announcements like that?
That has no specs about anything.
Anything.
It's like, hey, guess what, guys? I mean, let's do one. Let's make one up.
Okay.
So, Canon might be releasing a 5D Mark IV that does 4K internal and has a battery lifespan of 7 days.
7 days.
In video mode.
Has a 10-inch flip-out screen, too.
Uncompressed RAW. They might do that.
They might do that. It's possible.
You
heard it here first.
It's fun. Anyway, 35mm 1.4, Mark II. You might see it, or you might not. It's the beauty of it all. But
Nikon
so
owners.
explain to me.
We love you.
Nikon and Apple partnering up on top secret.
That is interesting.
So what could Apple have to do?
What is Apple thinking?
Yeah. Well, yeah, poor Nikon. Those guys,
I know.
Their cameras
Nikon
are great.
Forever. They have incredible cameras. I mean, the dynamic range of the 810 is better than the Mark III. So
beautiful camera.
They are beautiful cameras. That was the standard. I shot a Nikon my entire career until things went digital. So
interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I loved them. I still have my old Nikon F3s.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Bunch of Nikon
so
lenses.
I do love Nikon. Yeah, my dad, who shot for National Geographic, shot everything on Nicker mats and the F2. I mean, shot all that stuff in Nikon. So they're great cameras.
So it's interesting. I don't know what the app is supposed to be. It's top secret. But what could Apple and Nikon have in common?
Who knows? All right, what else we got?
Well, here's something funny.
Go ahead.
XA55 broadcast lens. So, you've seen the lenses when you go to a baseball game and they're like those boxy lenses that are like 4 feet long. So somebody put a GH4, a Panasonic GH4, which is probably the smallest camera ever known to man, on the biggest lens. It's like this 20-to-1 zoom lens. So
how do you even adapt it to that lens?
It's PL.
Oh, is it PL?
I think so. I think it's PL or B4. I'm not sure. Yeah, but
hey, well, somebody got a post that everyone's picked up because. So wait, what's the zoom was like?
Yeah, it's like 20, a 44mm to 2,415 millimeter zoom lens.
Try carrying that around.
Exactly. So it's just funny.
So there you go.
Yeah.
In the Avengers, Iron Man, in Avengers 3, Iron Man dies. That's
Avengers
an exclusive. 2. No, 3.
Oh, and 3 in the third
3,
one.
Iron Man dies.
That's right.
That's an exclusive you heard here first on the Trends from the Trenches. Yep. Iron Man dies.
Yeah, and
they just bring him back. It was all a dream, So
yeah.
I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know anything about any of that.
Yeah.
But I do know this, that the Avengers was shot on, part of it was shot on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera.
Certainly not exclusively.
No, not exclusively.
That'd be funny.
All shot on the, what's that camera you just bought, the video camera?
Oh, the Panasonic XV870 or something like that. Yeah, no.
Yeah, all shot on that.
All shot on that, yeah. And why on earth did I buy that camera, you might ask? Because it's supposed to do slow motion, and it does, but it's... I don't really like it very much.
Okay, well, let's roll on here.
Okay.
Here's my sensor chart.
Oh.
And the reason I printed this out was just to show that the Canon Mark III still has a superior sensor to every camera on the market. I just want to make that very clear.
What? Okay. In case you don't understand this, the 5D Mark III has not a Super 35, but a 35 millimeter sensor,
Full 35.
frame,
Full 35.
It's what, if you were taking still images, it's that 35 millimeter size.
All these other cameras are kind of playing around down here, but no, exclusive.
So, you know, cameras like the 7D or the Arri Alexa or, you know, all the other cameras that use the standard film Super 35 size.
Yep. But you look at the new Ursa.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Super 35. That's a pretty good size frame.
It is.
It's not going to have the same depth, the shallow depth of field as the Mark III, but...
Right, because even your Blackmagic cinema camera is not true Super 35.
No.
So
that's news and reviews for the month of June.
there they are.
And remember, you can see this on our... Can't see it on our podcast.
You could. I mean, you have to. You find it, you'd see it there, and then you click on it, and you would listen to it.
Listen to it.
So, Trends from the Trenches podcast. How many of you listen to the Trends from the Trenches podcast? Are you subscribed? I want to know.
Yeah, that'd be good to hear.
Post in the comments if that's something that you're interested in, if that's something that you would share, or
yeah. Hey, okay, hold on. Okay, we have a T-shirt design, and Lars is laughing profusely. At the T-shirt.
You just like, you know what you look like? You look like the scared old lady that like opens the door like when her neighbors knock. Just, hello?
You are not helping. All right, so check out our T-shirt art. That's going up, and just give us your thoughts. So let's take a few comments, answer a few comments, and see what we can do.
Okay.
The first one is from Filmmaker Media, and it talks about scanning video. It says, you gave me an idea, JP, on a future episode of Trends from the Trenches. Can you and Lars and Ken review the best solutions for scanning film, 35, 6x7? We're going to do that with Ken today.
Love it.
I love this channel, but I was wondering why Lars does not do any video or cinematography tips.
So yeah, so lighting I think is key. You know, so how do you show up to a place and then you see, oh, there's a window over here and a backlight window over there. How can I use those to wrap my light around so that I still get a nice catch light in the eyes? I don't overdo it, blast it, and kill the contrast, and influence that natural light that's already available. How do I do that? So that's really what I look for, and I'll talk about a couple tips today actually of how to get a nice soft light. From Margot Morrill. She said, hello. First, I love watching your videos. They're amazing. I'm looking for some equipment to film cooking videos. I currently film beauty videos in my office with a Diva light, which works very well. I have attached a photo below of the space I want to use. I know right now it doesn't look like much, but it will be transformed into a kitchen filming space. When I'm filming, it will be a closer up shot. You won't be seeing the windows, which I think is unfortunate, personally.
You like the windows?
I love windows. Any ideas? Thanks for your time. So she submitted a photo. Like I said, I like windows, but the good news is about the setup, you already have a key and 3/4 backfill light.
Talk about the key. So as people are looking at it, you got this big bright window on the left, which gives you automatically a key light for what you're doing.
And you've got nice soft curtains in there, so it's already diffused. So I would maybe, if you need more light, put your Diva light over in this higher part of the window and influence that same light coming through, soften it up with a little diffusion so you mimic that window light. Get a nice wrap it around so you see that catch light in the eyes there a little bit better.
Yeah, Lars, absolutely. Get that light over there so it emphasizes the key that's already there. And that way you can bring it forward just a little bit if the key's a little too deep behind her. But then get a fill card of some sort so you can open up the other side.
4x4 foot fill card or something and put it in over here so you kind of bring in both the 3/4 back window light and your key light. You just push a little bit of light into the fill. And you might want to consider getting like a Dito daylight light or like one of these new LED 650s.
One of the new Sammy's LED, that 650 is a fabulous light for something like this.
And put it over here on the corner and
a little
rim light, a little harder rim light from that window back there. I think it'd be a really pretty setup.
The way I do this, and Lars may do it differently, but I think it's very similar. I would expose and open up the shadows and let that kind of be my base exposure. And then I would let that highlight, I would add to that highlight to give us a little bit of punch. So you're not trying to, it just opens the room up a little bit So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, great space. So send us a picture you shoot there so we can show it and we can talk about it and see how you did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Or send us your setup. We'll talk about that. 8 questions to ask before estimating. Digital life concepts. This was by far one of the best summaries of how to do an estimate I've ever heard. I really appreciate that because the estimating process has always been the most difficult part of the photographic business for me. And I can't believe you threw an egg at my camera. What's wrong with you? That Canon didn't do anything to hurt you. Anyways, I always appreciate the information. Thank you. You know, I went through the 8 questions, and when I did that little segment, it truly is the questions I ask every time someone calls in and says, I'd like you to estimate this project. I go through those 8 questions, and I ask them those questions. It helps give me a good foundation for how to do the estimate. If you haven't checked out, and I mean this very sincerely, our digital download on how to do an estimate, I take you through the whole process, an estimate from not just a still photographer point of view, but a videographer's point of view. We also talk about charging for if you're doing portraits or you're doing weddings. We have contracts that we have attached to that as well for weddings.
We have
this. Lars needs all of this stuff because I know what he does. He does a ton of work,
great.
But the business side of it is not the strong part.
No, it's not at all. You know, it's like people calling, "What's your day rate?" And you go, "Hem ha hem." You know, it's like you don't really know. Like
that's a problem. You make all these decisions, and all these decisions should be made so that you don't have to go through that stress every time the phone rings. It's like, this is what I'm charging. You may decide in 6 months, well, I'm going to bump that up a little bit, or I'm going to bring it back a little bit. You can change it, but make that decision only once or twice a year.
So on the vintage portraits on a budget, you had, let's see, Manuel Tamayo said, how do you handle the city permits you need, and do you need insurance? Thanks.
Good question.
Great question.
When I said vintage portraits on a budget, what keeps that budget for me is, one, I found a place that had the airplane. So now I've solved a lot of problems. I'm shooting on their property, and I'm shooting their property and their airplane. So I don't have to have a permit because I'm on private property.
Gotcha.
So when he's going to sign a model release for me, and he also had wardrobe there. And he said, you can use these old Second World War outfits people can wear. So now I've got a place, I've got an airplane, I've got wardrobe, and I hired a talent for $100. And
so probably a better answer to this is just ask.
Well, if you're on public property, if you decide to go to a municipal airport and do this shoot, you're now going to need a permit. But if you go to a private, this was a private, like a runway and a personal private piece of property, you can shoot there without a permit. And the insurance just depends on whether or not that person or place will require insurance from you, which most don't. They're not. No, they're not into filming. They're not going to ask for it.
I honestly, though, with insurance, I would get insurance if I were doing.
You should have production insurance.
Totally.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like, you can pay $30 a month and get liability insurance and have some equipment coverage as well.
Yeah.
It's like up to 20 grand equipment and then $1 million liability. It's like $30 a month, and it's if you are even remotely serious about showing up to places and shooting, have insurance.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's cheap, it's affordable, just do it.
Well, it covers a lot of things. If an assistant stumbles over a stand and breaks their leg,
Absolutely.
if a model drops a bowling ball on their foot, I mean, it's got to
be covered. If you're there and it's your name, you're shooting that stuff, you got to cover yourself. So.
Photoshop lighting and photography tutorials by Lance. So Lance has another channel. He says, this is so awesome. I learned so much about how to shoot on a budget, and my favorite thing you said was the research you do on the project. It is super important to know about your subject so you can bring it to life in the photos. Thanks, Lance.
Let's see.
Filmographer bag.
So Silurian said, I would buy one if the Slanted lens would offer a discount coupon or something. They're very pricey.
Let's check on that. So Romographer, let's do a little discount for the Slanted lens listeners so they can get into your line of bags, which I think are incredible bags. So David Pattison says, how does the Baja B4 compare to Profoto B1? Boy, this is an interesting question because the B1 is a TTL flash, TTL capabilities, whereas the Baja B4 does not have that. They both high-speed sync. You're talking about 400 watt seconds for the B4, and you have 500 watt seconds for the B1. In that world. So you're really looking at, you gain TTL flash with the B1, you gain access to an incredible amount of accessories as far as all their modifiers, everything that works with the B1, that whole Profoto system, that whole Profoto world. but you're looking at a cost of over $2,000 for the B1 versus the Baja B4. It has access to the modifiers. All the Bowens mounted modifiers will work on the B4
for about,
but it's $600.
Yeah.
You know, so you can buy 3 of them. You know, so you have to make a decision. Is the ProPhoto B1 a great? Absolutely. I mean, that is an incredible piece of equipment. But it's just, you know, can you justify the money? It's just up to you in that way. But I do know that the Baja B4, there's about to be, I don't know if anyone knows this yet or not, but there's about to be a Baja B6, which will be 600 watt seconds and the same lithium battery.
Wow.
Well, with the lithium battery. So that'll be a great step up for them. I'm excited with the 600 watt seconds. The 400, it's perfect, it's great, but I would like the more power.
Okay.
So
love it. Okay, Tamron, 24 to 70 2.8 versus the Canon EF 24 to 70 2.8, the Mark II. Which one's for you, JP?
Which one's? Great question. Here's my sense of these two lenses. The Tamron and the Canon, I've tested them. The Tamron's just as sharp, is very much in the same category as the Canon. I think the Canon has a little better build. It's probably going to last a little longer for you.
Yeah.
And the Tamron's a little larger, but is economically, buy 2 of them for the price of the Canon.
For me, it's
so
the
there's
focus.
some trade-off. Yeah, Lars is like the fact that the focus is backwards. The focus focuses like Nikon lenses, not like Canon.
So if you're doing photography, then it doesn't matter, apples and oranges. But for video, I mean, if I'm going from all my Canon lenses, which have a focus, you know, which it's like I pull left and it's deep focus, or so I pull. So like because that's backwards for me, makes it a really difficult lens to work with.
For me, in the end, there's a huge price difference. You can get 2 of the Tamron lenses for the price of 1 of the Canon lenses. You know, when I'm putting 6 or 8 cameras up, you know, we're trying to shoot on multiple camera bodies. It's just got to have a lot of glass.
Or even 2 or 3 cameras.
Or even 2 or 3. You know, you got to have a lot of glass. So, and everything we shoot is on Tamron lenses. Everything you see on the Slanted lens. So.
Hey, here's one from our Lars Cam shoulder rig video. Man, that's been up for a while.
Yeah, it has.
It says, this is Ansh Sani. Said, I've got a Sony NEX VG900, which is slightly bigger than other DSLR cameras. Would this rig help it? Okay, well, absolutely. Because I'll tell you what, I still use my the original Lars Cam, which I built 4 or 5 years ago, and the tape is shredded. It's in terrible. I still use that with my C100s, like on a weekly basis. And the C100s, they're when you build them and you got a bigger lens, I can even use my 70 to 200 with the Canon C100 with the top handle on this thing, and it works.
You're supporting the lens though with your focusing hand, right?
So I do it a little bit different. I actually turn like if the shoulder rig's like this, I turn the camera at an angle like that, and I grab one handle and I put the other handle in my elbow so that I can pull focus and I can put my eye up to the eyepiece, and I'm there, and the shoulder just kind of swings around. So no, but absolutely, yeah, you won't have a problem with that bigger camera at all.
Hey, it's an $8 investment. Build one and see how it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is. So from Lars's first AC tips, Joseph Job, what model of matte box is that, please? I can see it's a Movicam.
It's a Movcam.
Movcam.
So Movcam, and it's I think it's either the 1 or the 2, or I honestly can't remember, but it's the 2-stage swingway with the standard 15, and so I'm sure you can.
When you say standard 15, what does that mean?
So there's 2 different spacing for your 15 millimeter rods. You've got standard, which is 60 millimeters apart, and then you've got studio, which I think is like 114 millimeters apart, and this is standard. So and I opted to not go the studio. I just didn't need it. The Alexa's got the standard built in, so I just went with that smaller option.
Very good.
But yeah, it's a great matte box. Honestly, it really is. I like it a lot, and for the price, it's great. One light setup, the old lesson. So one light. Do you remember your one light setup lesson?
I do. Yeah.
All right. So Michael Luigi Pacito. I'm sure this will be in the next episode, but wondering if upping the frame rate would have helped you take the stills. I think Peter Hurley did a shoot with a red camera and was impressed, but the workflow of going through 1,000 frames was a big bummer for him.
This was when we did the one light setup. We were shooting the 1DC.
Oh,
and so we're shooting 4K and pulling frames.
Okay.
I felt the same way. 1,000. I mean, it's like every frame you got to look at, and there's so much motion blur. And he's talking about that. You can shoot this at a higher shutter speed,
of course,
get rid of the motion blur, but it doesn't have that same cinematic flow. It just
if you're pulling video from it.
If you're pulling, well, if you're going to use both video and stills, if you're just going to be shooting stills, you're not doing video, then I don't think it makes sense to shoot. But if you're shooting video, I think it makes sense if you're out shooting, you know, in animals in Africa. You know, now you're shooting video, you're getting great video, but you can pull frames from that, and there's some great images there. So,
let's see. Kevin Pineda said, "Hi, can you please advise where to get the dark cloud backdrop used in many of your fantasy portrait videos? I can't find this thing at all. Thanks for any help you can provide." Kevin, I know where you can get it.
There's only one of those. We had a backdrop painter paint that for us, and so there's only one of those that exists.
In the world.
In the world. I love that backdrop just because it's gray, which means you can throw color on it and make it be whatever you want. It just has a lot of options, and it's just a cloudy sky. So, but you can go out and get a nice shot of some cloudy skies when when it's a cloudy day, and get that kind of same look, this kind of gray. Go into RAW and take the color, don't make it black and white, but take a lot of the color out of it so it's just a little more grayish, and then send it into a place called Denny's. Denny's Backdrops, not
Grand Slam. Denny's. A Grand Slam backdrop, everybody.
No, it's not that.
Just send it to your favorite breakfast restaurant.
Anyway, they'll print that out, and there's several different options you can choose for the cloth that you print it on. Also, Roscoe does some incredible backdrops.
Do they?
They double print. So if you have a bunch of buildings, then they double print a night shot and a day shot. So you front light the day shot, and then you can do a transition. And if you're on set and you're shooting in someone's apartment or something, then you go from a front lit to a rear projected, and now the same scene is now nighttime. So you see all the lights in the windows, and it's a really cool product.
That's brilliant.
It is. It's done on a seamless, or a material that's easy to roll up, doesn't wrinkle. I mean, for Roscoe, it's a fabulous backdrop. Those are pretty expensive, but
sounds like
if you're doing day to night, those are fabulous.
So you can rent them.
Oh yeah, you can rent them from Roscoe. I believe you can. Okay,
that's it.
So that's all of our comments, and I hope you found this informative, answering the comments that people have sent in. We'll keep doing that each month, so keep sending the comments in. We're going to take everyone that put a comment in today, and we're going to put their names in a hat, and Kate's going to pull out a winner, and we're going to send you a reflector for commenting on for sending in your comments. So thank you very much. Expect that, and we'll announce that winner on our Facebook page. Okay, we're going to look at some viewers' images. We're going to look at some images from our viewers and just give you our kind of pointers.
Yeah.
New thought. There you go. So first one is from Mike Hallinson. I'm going to launch into this, and Lars, just give me your thought.
Sure.
Photography, in my mind, if an image is going to be successful, it's got to boil down to 3 to 5 elements.
Okay.
Now, you can have a forest of trees, and that's not 35,000 elements, if it's lit right, and if you can make a forest of trees become an element.
Okay.
Depending on how they're lit. A lot of times fog or smog or whatever will give you that sense. It kind of blends it together. Or you start to light in the foreground, let it go darker. You can do things to make it into one element. So I think successful images have 3 to 5 elements. I think Mike is pushing that direction. He's making that happen. He's taking his background, it's a little out of focus, it's a little darker, and he's trying to turn that into one element. So it's not competing too much with his subject matter, but it's still, you can tell it's trees, you can tell there's something interesting going on back there. Now, his foreground element is just a little too bright for me, I think, because the two feel a little too far apart. I would open up my background a little bit, make that feel a little more like the light that's on the girl's face is coming from the background. I don't know if this is a background or if he's used a backdrop. It almost looks like a backdrop in some ways, the way it's lit. So I think you're a little too heavy with the strobe and making that background go a little too dark, and that's making it feel like the person's in an artificial situation, whereas if you'd open up the background and just drag your shutter a little longer, it's going to make these two blend together a little better, and it's going to feel a little more organic, and I think the images will be a little stronger. The first two are nice. The two little girls are nice. There's nice positioning. I feel comfortable. The third one, looking in the girl's armpit, is a little too uncomfortable, I think. I mean, I know it's fun, and she's got a lot of energy, you know, but it's an awkward position as far as posing goes. And posing is really difficult with people who are not professional models. You know, it really is. My experience has been, I just saw a guy who did a piece on YouTube on this, the exact same thing. I just get people to mimic me. You know.
Oh, really?
Absolutely, especially with kids like this. You know, I'll tell them just follow me. You know, and you just start to do what you want them to do, and pretty soon, you know, you don't have to say a lot to them, and they'll just say, follow me, do what I'm doing. You know, copy me. And
kids are so tough, man.
The kids are very difficult. But Mike, I think you've done a great job here. I think you have nice images. I think you're heading the right direction. I think just make those two light sources blend together a little better. I think that's going to work better for you, and go from there. So now let's go to, is it Varun Sharma?
Varun Sharma.
I apologize about the names. So
we're really bad.
You've got a wide range of imagery here. You've got stuff that feels very travel, and then you've got some blacklight stuff as well, which is very interesting. So let's talk about the blacklight stuff.
I like it.
It's always interesting.
It's interesting. Well, I like what was done in post with the color.
I don't know how much this is done in post. I think you might find a lot of this is done on camera.
You think so?
Absolutely. And doing blacklight work, and he's probably doing fluorescent paints. I mean, what you've done with the image, again, and keeping an image has got to be very simple. And you've taken this and turned a face into a single element and you don't let the background confuse it. You let even the cheeks fall away into black. I just think it gives a very nice, I think the light's done very nicely in these. The advantage of this kind of work is that it's startling. People find it very interesting, arresting, and it's very appealing. The disadvantage of this kind of work is that it's just so unique that you can't just keep doing that.
Right.
You know, I mean, you can't make a career out of doing this kind of blacklight. You know, you've got to go somewhere else with it, which would be interesting to see how you could apply this into that blacklight application, but try to now move the backgrounds into another dimension, move the person into a scene. You know, it'd be interesting to see how you could push this and make it move forward into, you know, what's the next step? What's the next phase for this?
Can you control blacklight?
I've never done much of it.
Rather than just like a fluorescent tube, do you have like I know you can get bulbs, but can you start to like have harder sources so you can?
No, you're starting from a lighting standpoint. You're going like, we get a grid on this.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Could be interesting. The fly is really interesting to me. I've always loved macro photography. I think it's really interesting to see things.
It's crazy.
It's really well done as far as the focus is right on for as close as you've been to get this fly like it is. I think, and the light is great.
Crazy.
I have a hard time with travel photography personally. Not that I don't. I mean, this is a unique place, an interesting location. But it's just so many people have it, and you're competing with the best of the world when you start talking about geographic, and you know, there's some pretty incredible photographers out there doing that kind of work. Now, from a commercial standpoint, if you took the same image that has the 3 arches and you've got a young gal with a great backpack on, looks very American, you know, now you got a travel piece. Now it's a travel, you know, or it's about the backpack. It really becomes an application versus I'm just selling National Geographic images. And I think that's what you want to do, is move this to a level where it's going to have an application, some way to respond, that the viewer is going to respond to, the market's going to respond to. All right, so this is Kevin James's work.
I think I like the color one more.
Yeah, I do too. The black and white's a little flat.
It's just flat.
Doesn't do what it needs to. And you know, if you go into something like Nik software, you can punch the black and white up a little better.
I like the color. I think it's interesting. The background is kind of the same color as her dress.
I would like to see a little more highlight on her face. I could live with this monochromatic world.
Right.
If you had just a little bit, if her face had a little more highlight on it, it was a little brighter.
Maybe contrast.
Yeah,
contrast may help. Maybe bring the light off to the side a little bit more, or something. Just create a little bit more contrast so that in her face, we get a little bit more shape. I love this image.
It's a great image.
I love it. I love that the whole family, well, there's a few things going on. I love that one kid is looking at the camera, and everybody else is seemingly ignoring it. And it's just the segregation, the color separation.
Even the 2 windows in the background, it just creates that segregation in some ways. Absolutely. Like you have these 2 groups, you know, it's very interesting.
So I really like this. Is my favorite image.
Yeah. Just a little more contrast in your black and white. I think your black and white's a little flat. I think that would help these a lot, give a little more contrast.
Okay.
So these are great images. Thank you very much for sending them in. Each one of you, I think they're great images. Send them in each month, and we'll take a look at your images and see what we can do.
See what we can do.
See what we can talk about. See what can help to kind of give you a sense of where you at and what's the next step. So this has been Trends from the Trenches. So keep those cameras rolling and keep on clicking. Woohoo! I'm wearing the T-shirt next time.
Me too.
I'm wearing it.
I'm bringing it.
So here we are on Trends from the Trenches, and we now have, what would Ken like to talk about? Actually, we're responding to a comment that one of our listeners sent in about talking about scanners. What scanners are out there for doing 35 millimeter up to larger formats? So Ken's going to answer that question for us.
I want to put out one thing first, though. Scanning is an art form.
Okay.
Just like a camera, when you take pictures, you have ultimate list settings, you can change everything, you have automatic control, you have semi-automatic, you have fully manual. Scanners, you have the same kind of aspect, and some of the better scanners. I need to maybe clarify that a little bit too. Because when we get into the scanning software, you have auto mode, which will probably do 80% of what you need it to do. But on certain images that are maybe a little more faded or a little bit more, say, not perfect, then you're going to have to work a little bit more at it to get that better image. That also comes out to like archiving, because everybody says, well, I want to archive my images. Well, in my mind, when somebody says I want to archive it, you basically don't want it anymore. You're going to take that image, you're going to scan it, you're going to throw it out because you're not going to use it anymore in that regard. So you want to get it the best quality you can from the get-go. Not something, well, I just want to be able to look at it for future. No, you wanted to keep it because you may want to reproduce it later.
It becomes, I mean, for me, all my early stuff I shot on film was all the digital scans, so I'll now become the originals.
Right.
I don't go back to the film anymore.
You don't have the film anymore, or you're not.
I have it, but I've never looked at it in 20 years. You know.
So there's no reason for it.
Yeah.
So you can open up that space basically and not worry about it. So that's why it's like a lot of people ask for that.
You would never open up that space. Get rid of your old film?
No. Are you kidding me?
That's that hoarder mentality. It's okay.
That's what's coming through more.
Well, no, wait a minute. There's a hoarder mentality, and then there's like, here's the film, the original, the most important thing. I'll just throw that away because I got a digital scan.
Well, okay, but after 20 years, that image itself, if it wasn't properly stored, like in a cooler environment, dry environment, what if you all of a sudden had mold growing on it? So now your original is actually no good anymore.
That's true.
And your scan that you did back in the day is your original again, like you had mentioned. So it's very important to kind of consider, okay, well, what do you want to scan? What do you want to use it for? If you're just going to say, well, I'm just going to send it to files to my friends and family and just keep it for them, well, then maybe you don't need to go for such a crazy high-end scanner.
We're talking about photographers who want to scan and make original scans of their images.
And that's where this is going to be perfect, because you see like the image box standalone here, which is what they consider 9 megapixels.
Okay.
Well, that's basically a digital camera inside of a box taking the image.
9 megapixels.
So I could do that almost with a regular digital camera then at that point. Get an adapter and maybe hold the slide up to the light source, the copy camera setup. And basically do the same thing and probably get a better quality image out of it.
Depending on the sharpness of your lens?
Well, depending on the adapters that I have too.
I did that with a lot of my stuff. Okay. Well, not with a lot of the prints, like 4x6 images and things.
Wow.
4x6 prints. Just throw it on a copy camera and just get a 24 megapixel copy of it.
Wow.
And I can shoot them really fast.
Well, and that's a nice advantage. You're able to do that quickly. Well, that's kind of a similar aspect and premise, and it's inexpensive. A lot of times you can pick those up for like $99.
Is that what this is? $99?
Yeah, roughly about. Yeah.
Wow. Could
roughly
we take
that
can and take the lid off from it and take pictures of things?
It's pretty much fixed focused at the flat plane there.
So people could press their faces against it.
Yes, you can do that. You want to do selfies? There's a new selfie camera.
Go.
Okay. So you have that option. Then you have all these built-in ones where they basically have the scanner, the printer, and everything built into it as one piece. So you get good on a lot of the stuff, but you don't get excellent or great out of everything.
Yeah.
So, when you're starting to move into these, if space is a constraint that you have to worry about, then sometimes these are a good solution too. But again, you're not going to get that, what I would consider an archived image. That's when we move into like your flatbeds, which are going to be, the V550, for instance, here. They have a V600. The V800 is basically a much better solution of it because they have a higher, what's called DMAX.
So this is the Epson V800?
Yeah, that is brand new on the market basically from Epson. So it's replaced their V750 and 700 models, but the newer version of this has an LED source for light. So it's actually much faster and much quicker to respond when you want to do a scan.
Can you do both transparency as well as prints?
Yes. So the advantage of this one is that allows us to scan not only 35 millimeter, it can do medium format, and it can do 4x5s. So you have a larger bed of area that it can scan in. So a lot of solutions for like photographers that did a lot of large formats shooting, that would have been the answer for them.
The V800.
The V800. You can move into a much higher end scale one that I'll talk about in a little bit, but
what's the price point of something like that?
that one's like closer to around $700 and $900. They have two different versions of it, it's like $740 or so. But it's going to have, one has two sets of holders, so if you're doing production purpose, you can, while you're scanning one, you can start loading another. And then the second thing is it does allow you to do a wet mount process. A lot of people don't know what a wet mount process is, and that goes back to the days of drum scanners. Well, drum scanners. If you ever had a drum scan done,
Yeah, all my stuff was drum scanned in the beginning.
That's a very laborious way of scanning. The nice advantage of it is it has extremely high resolution. It has extremely high sharpness from edge to edge because they're literally curling it onto a drum. But they also typically use taping it down and a solution, usually acetate. And a solution is a non-destructive solution that actually gives it better light transmissive properties and also gives it a sharper image at that point. Again, very expensive process to do. It takes a long time to do that process. So they charge usually $80, $100 per scan for one image.
Wow.
But if your stuff, you know, this is a one-of-a-kind piece that you want to basically get the best scope.
I spent like $40 a scan for every image.
No
that
kidding.
was
Sure.
everyone. Absolutely. Did it at a great place in Hollywood.
Wow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, I know there probably some are a little bit less expensive. There's
this was
also,
30
This
years
has been
ago.
a while ago, yeah.
so now they're a little bit more expensive because not a lot of people are doing it anymore because they're just getting everything digitized immediately. Or they're shooting digital already.
It's surprising to me that we're still at a point where the market is still interested in scanning. I mean,
Yeah.
it feels like we've been
Still
digital for
developing.
so long.
Yeah,
that,
like
you
this
know,
is a new product, like new on the market.
Yeah.
You can scan large format
Well,
film.
the previous version, it took them 3 to 4 years to basically replace it.
Oh, really?
So let's put things into perspective.
Okay, so this is
digital
like-
cameras every year something comes out new.
Yeah.
Scanners, 4 or 5 years later they might come out with something new. So
So-
the market still is holding well with what it is. They do have tabloid flatbeds out there, but they tend to go for a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a couple $1,000s usually for one of those versus what this is.
What about the 550? What's the scanning bid?
It's about the same size, but this one is limited to like medium format and 35 for scanning. So you can't do a 4x5 on this particular one.
Oh, you can't. But will you get as high a quality on that one as
No, because now we're talking differences within not necessarily the optical resolution, but the density range that it can see. The Dmax is what they call it.
Dmax,
So
yeah.
the higher the Dmax number value is typically where you're going to get more of that shadow detail and highlight detail in your image. So better like bit depth of color for you.
Sure.
You know, when you get more bit depth of color, I have more tones
push.
and more that I can play with. Well, it's the same thing here. I want to see more in the shadows. I want to see more in those highlights and more of the midtones. Then I want to have that higher density range. Usually on these all-in-ones, you really don't have a high density range that it can see. It's great on brand new stuff. It's great. It's going to give you a punchy image, but a lot of times you're not going to get the subtleties. So that's where if you've got really old stuff where it's faded a little bit or it's got a change of colors, you're going to really want to have something that has a higher density range that it can see. Otherwise, it won't see those nuances and you're not going to see the image the way you thought it was. That's where it also comes down to dedicated film scanners. When you get into dedicated film scanners, now you've got a optimized scan for a slide, transparency, or color negative, or black and white. So now it's optimized for that inch and a quarter, specifically for like this one. This is the Optec version. This has 35mm only. So it doesn't do medium format, doesn't do 4x5s, doesn't do anything like that.
What's the price point?
This price, you're actually looking at about $500.
Okay, all right. So
Oh, it's just
below.
35 millimeters.
Strictly 35.
So I've got a whole box full of old family 35 millimeter slides
That's
I need to scan.
perfect.
Is that the guy?
So here's the other thing. A lot of times,
That's perfect.
for you, that's right on the
I'm
money.
so happy for you.
I am too, kind of.
Well, you shot probably a lot of Kodachrome too, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Why?
Boxes of Kodachrome. Because the color is so fabulous. And it's just...
Well, you realize that the Kodachromes also are
layers.
matrixed. They're layered.
If you look at the back of a Kodachrome, you see it layered on the base. It's really cool looking.
That's a nightmare for scanners.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
They hate them because
It's almost like, yeah. Just
if you have the dust or any scratches in it, it can't discern what the difference is between dust is or a scratch within Kodachromes, or black and white as a matter of fact. They came out with, this is the Optic Film 8200 AI, or the I is actually an infrared pass. So they actually have a kind of a fourth pass that it does within their scanning technology to help eliminate the dust and scratches specifically in Kodachromes and black and white.
And that shows up as infrared?
Well, it's an infrared, well, when you're dealing with the dust and scratch removal system, it's typically looking for the dust and scratches within the image itself.
Okay.
Well, that's on a color spectrum though. So it can see that, but it's also looking at your image. The problem with Kodachrome is because it's all matrixed, they have a problem kind of discerning what is dust and what scratches versus what is the actual image.
Yeah.
So when you start doing this dust removal on like when you start doing dust removal on some of these products, they don't have the ability to discern the differences. This helps discern that difference. So it actually is another pass layer, so it goes, oh, okay, so I know what the color information is pretty much, I don't need to worry about any of that, and it can know exactly what the dust is, so it can help mask that out.
It makes it a lot faster in Photoshop. You don't have to go in and try to clean all that stuff
Oh, it's a huge thing.
Yeah, it really is.
And all of your image, I'm sorry to say, no matter how well we try to take care of them, you're gonna have some dust, you're gonna have some scratches.
Yep, yep. So that one's how much again now?
This one's about 500.
500, and that does just 35 millimeters.
Now, they do also make in that same brand, they do make a medium format in 35 specifically. So you're able to do the medium format in 35, but now you're looking around 1,800 in price to 2,000.
Whoa. Jumps from 500 to 1,800 to medium format?
Yeah.
So now you're more expensive than the V800.
Yeah.
Is the V800 better, or is that?
No, because this one you're going to be able to do a lot higher quality because it has a higher density range that it can see.
Okay.
On top of, you can do multiple sampling too. So you can actually do multiple scans of the same image, which is going to take now infinitely longer for you. So it depends on how much of the little features you want to turn on these too. So the more you turn on, the longer it's going to take. The quicker you want to do things, the less work you have the scanners do, and the better the processor you have, the more quickly it will work actually.
So if I walked in and I want to archive my old images that I've shot, these are images that cost me $20,000 to $30,000 each to photograph.
Sure.
And I want the best possible rendition of those 4x5 transparencies.
Bring it into our lab and we'll take care of it with a drum scan.
That's what I drum scanned all my stuff. I'm going. This kind of thing is kind of like playing with the
have,
idea.
well, we
but if
have
you're really serious.
If you want to do really the highest quality level work, then it is literally going to be either a drum scan or what's the Hasselblad, which is the X1 or X5 scanners. They have a really high density range that they can read. Yeah. They have a pseudo drum scan way of technology for scanning, and yeah, they do run about $18,000 for one of those scanners.
Whoa!
So
that's a lot of drum scans.
Well, drum scans can go for $35,000 to $60,000. Yeah. So a normal individual is not going to own one of those, obviously.
Yeah.
But this is dedicated to 35 millimeters, so that inch by inch and a half size image that you're scanning, this is going to give you the best quality that it can at a under $1,000 price point. I mean, you're at $500 for this. Now, if I have a lot of medium format and I have a lot of 35, I can go with the V800 scanner. And like you mentioned before, all right, price point, you know, I'm looking at what, about almost $2,000 for a medium format dedicated film scanner. Well, there's not many out there. There's actually only about one that I'm still aware of right now that's still in existence that's being production today. The Nikon one, there was a 9000 that everybody loved, but that's been discontinued for almost 10 years now. So it's really obsolete at that point, and getting the scanner-based software for it is not a possible anything anymore. You have to go to third party for everything. So you could buy this and buy this.
Oh, okay.
And you do your medium format and large stuff on that one, and you do all your 35s
so
on this.
35 is going to be better on that.
Yes.
Or
see, because I have a bunch of
just buy the bigger one of this.
Well, for 2,000. So I'm looking at
2,000.
price points. So if I'm going 800 and a
You're at
500.
1,300 versus 2,000.
So this actually also relates back to what we were talking about for storage, because now I got to put them everywhere. So when I start scanning all these images, I'm scanning in a couple 100 meg files. I need to keep them stored in a good place too.
So now to wrap this up, if I'm going to scan 35 millimeters, according to Canon, and I think it's good advice, the Plus Tech becomes a great option to be able to shoot or to scan 35 millimeters. If we're going to go into medium format, he says the V800, but won't do 4x5.
No, it will do 4x5.
Oh, we'll do 4x5.
Yeah, the V800 can do 4x5.
Okay, perfect. So 4x5 or medium format, but he says you're going to get a better scan on that little Plus Tech if you're doing 35 millimeters.
So dedicated film.
Dedicated film to that. So there's the two suggestions. Some of the others here, I mean, there's more expensive versions out there, but these really become a price point and quality point good solutions. Is that a fair assessment?
It's a fair assessment.
All right, so there's what Ken wanted to talk about today, prompted by you, a listener who sent in asking about scanners. So
It's a great question.
absolutely. All right, for this segment of Trends from the Trenches, we're going to build the Ronin M.
Neither of us have ever built a Ronin before. This is a true story, actually.
No idea.
Yeah.
We have never set one of these things up. I did take the instruction out last night. It said charge the battery. I charged the battery. That's as far as I've gotten. I have no idea what else we're going to do. We're going to open the box and see how fast we can set this thing up.
All right, great. 45. All right, here we go.
It's 45. So we're here at lunchtime at the rush hour at Sammy's. So let's start by opening the box. There's our quick start guide.
Okay, all right. Charge the battery.
Yeah, we did that.
Got it.
There's a user manual.
Okay.
Who uses that? Okay. Does the first thing to say is to set up this little stand? That,
No, it said it says read the user manual first thing.
We're not doing that part.
Yeah, it says set up the stand.
All right, here it comes. This is going to go a lot slower than I thought. So tell me what step 2 is while you're working on that one. So this is out of the box. Lars balanced it, and I'm going to follow him around the store. Now, I'm getting a sense when you're about to turn, if I crank this handle, I can stay on you.
Stay on me, yeah.
I can stay on you.
All right, that's cool. I'll try it.
Absolutely.
Ooh, it's light. It's so light. All right, let me try. I'm gonna roll it.
Okay, here we go. Walking around the store. Yeah, I might get one of these. You know what those are? Just walking around the store.
That wasn't nice.
So this is pretty cool. Out of the box, Ronin. He just shot it. We took it out of the box. What, we balanced it in like 5 minutes. And Lars walked around the store, and this is what we got. So what do you think?
I like it, man.
Yeah, do the full circle thing.
Okay. Stand in the middle there.
Too tight here.
That's good.
So there's the Ronin. We built this thing, and I don't know how many minutes it took us to build it.
5-10 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't very long. And
balanced it.
balanced it in a short amount of time. My word, it didn't take very long at all. But for $1,400, right? $1,395.
I think $13.99.
Yeah, $13.99. That's pretty amazing setup.
It really is.
So how does that compare to like your old glide cam? Lars is an expert on the glide cam. So
I mean, I like the glide cam because I can. I mean, for right now, from what I'm seeing of this, I'm sure that there's just a learning curve on this. Not as much as there is on a Steadicam or glide cam, but right out of the box, you just can't beat it. If you're thinking to yourself, I don't have time to practice that or learn how to balance a Steadicam or a glide cam right now, and I see something quick and simple and it looks pretty good, I think that right out of the box is great. And as you get better, as you learn, as you develop those muscles, then it's just a piece of cake.
it's going to be a muscle thing, that's for
Oh,
sure.
I
feel
know.
after
I can
doing
already feel
one
it.
trip around, I'm
Yeah.
going to want one of those vests with the whole
I know. It's funny.
6 wheels and.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
right.
Well, there's the Ronin M, about $1,400. You can get it at sammys.com. So keep those cameras rolling. Keep on clicking. Hi, today on Slanted Lens. Nope. Hi, today. Stop it.
I didn't do anything. Like, I didn't send a lens. Nope.